I didn't mention earlier that that film was created by Howard Hickson, and it was actually the slideshow that was played with Silver's exhibit for many years. This year, we've worked together to build a new exhibit for Silver so we can begin showing this film again, and the reception for that will be tomorrow evening from 6 to 8 p.m. Our entire community is invited. We would love to have all of you join us. Also tonight, Lar Caughlin has joined us from San Mateo, California, and he is here. He's going to speak with us today. And also, this evening, he'll be leading a free yoga night here at the museum. You're also invited to join us for that at 6, correct? At 6 o'clock. And I had something else I had to say and I forgot it. I'm sorry. Watching that film always makes me cry and it discombobulated me. So with that, I would like to welcome Larry. We're so excited to have him join us today. He's going to be speaking tomorrow evening he's going to be giving a toast at the reception tomorrow evening, but we're really excited to hear his story and his story and Silver's story because the two overlap, and we're very excited to hear it directly from him. I also did I mention that Stu Ryder was the narrator for the film? He was also from KELK. That's something that I learned this summer. This has been a summer of learning for all of us. And Stu Ryder was the person who narrated the film. And I'm sorry I'm all over the place. Here's Larry, and he's going to share his story. Thank you.
Well, I thought about this day for 45 years. What if the eagle went extinct? Oh, let's use this. Hi. What if the eagle went extinct? This is what was nearly happening 45 years ago. They estimate that there was only 487 eagle nests in the 48 states. Driving from here to New York, there would be 10 human houses per state. That's how close they came. They were dying off because of DDT, this toxic pesticide, which was making the bald eagle go extinct, the prairie falcon, the peregrine falcon. So close. The pelican, the brown pelican also. So if you're looking at 487 nests nationwide, it's shrinking yearly until there's none left. To have an eagle in the zoo, they were highly valuable. I had worked a lot with other raptors in a rehabilitation program there at the zoo, so I had a lot of experience. And we just decided, well, Silver's been sitting there in the cage. He's not breeding or anything. Why don't we think about training him to go back into the wild? That's what one of the movies is about here, available today. So I trained Silver for a couple years to get him healthy enough to release. There was a controversy about taking a single bald eagle away from the zoo where we knew it was safe and letting him go. But I got permission from the Fish and Wildlife, and as we were training Silver, we got a immature bald eagle from Nevada. Jane, we called her. Actually, we called her Jane Athena. And we started training her with Silver also together. Took a couple of years, went to Mount Lassen in '73 to release them, but it turned out it was an early winter. In August, it was snowing up there in August. We didn't want to release them in a severe winter because they had not been toughened up enough for a severe winter. So we brought them back and heard about the Ruby Lake National Wildlife Refuge. I'm sorry. If we hadn't heard about that refuge, who knows what would have happened to them. But we released them up there with Jane, and that's part of the movie. He loved it up there. For 10 months, he had all the fish he wanted. He didn't have to go anywhere else. Jane did. She took off and left immediately. Never saw her again. We figured she probably flew down to LA. Once they get in the jet stream, pilots will say they see eagles in the jet stream. That means they can go hundreds of miles in a single day. So Jane may be having children out there, who knows. Silver stuck around, and I got up there 10 months later with my Super 8 camera, and I took footage of him. Just one single day did I see him, because he was flying all over the place. And I got the footage, which is on the video there, of him flying free. And he was standing on that cool sign of the duck. That's where I saw him, standing on the sign with a duck on it. And I slowly pulled my Jeep up with the camera in one hand, and there he is. Wow. He took off from the sign, and he started circling over. He was saying, hey, look what I can do. It was so cool. So that was just the only day I saw him. 3 days later, we came back home. I was developing the film, looking at the film on my little projector when they called and said he was shot. Wow. What can you do? People were shooting eagles all over the country. They thought they were going to carry their babies away or something. But it wasn't the hunting that made them go extinct. It was the DDT, the poisoning of our environment. Our waterways were getting so much DDT, the fish would eat it, and then the birds and other animals would eat the poisoned fish. The bald eagle would eat the fish, the female would lay the egg, and the egg would break. This is why they were going extinct so fast. They couldn't hatch their eggs. So this was back 45 years ago, and we thought, they may be gone. I don't want that. Now, we saved them. It was one of those wildlife victories. They were near extinction, and now they are proliferating throughout the 48 states. We had a breeding program at the zoo, and over 18 years we bred 100 bald eagles at the zoo and released them in California. We were getting funding from the federal government, and once President Clinton took them off the endangered species list because they were doing so good, that was wonderful. But once he took them off the list, we lost all our federal funding for our breeding program, so it kind of went extinct. But that was a good extinction because we didn't need to do this anymore. So that was back in 2007, and we saved a species. The condor, the California condor, there was about 12 in zoos and only about 12 to 15 in the wild. That's how close they came to extinction. 25 to 30 condors on Earth. And there was a controversy for rehabilitators like myself. Should we keep the 12 in the zoos to preserve them, or should we release them with the other wild condors to try and proliferate? We decided to release them. So there's 25 condors on their own, and now they're probably up over 100, Tar, what do you think? So we saved the condor. There was a Mexican gray wolf, a little bit smaller than the timber wolves, which was going extinct. What was it? There's 7 left. Now they're back, huh? Wow. So the message today is we can save species which are going extinct. We don't have to make these things die because of human overpopulation and everything else that goes along with that. Habitat loss, pollution. So there's good news out there. We save things as well as destroy things. Humans are good at destroying. We all know this. I wanted to read a newspaper article. I have all these facts about eagles. You can Google eagles now and you can get all the facts you need. But this was in the newspaper a couple weeks ago, and I thought I'd give you a little insight into silver and the bald eagle. This is from the Daily Journal. Eagle with 8-foot wingspan crashes into Alaska home. Many are familiar with the uninvited guests unexpectedly crashing at the house. The Eagle took a scenario to new heights in Kodiak, Alaska. A bald eagle grabbed a piece of freezer-burned halibut that someone had thrown out, apparently misjudged its climb up the cliff with a 4-pound piece of fish, which is pretty heavy for an eagle, while likely being chased by another eagle to steal it. The wrong trajectory led the eagle to smash through the front window of Stacy Studebaker's home Saturday. Imagine that. It was so unbelievably loud. My first thought was I thought an atomic bomb had dropped on the windows and they were blown out. And she had founded the local chapter of the Audubon Society of all people. She was astonished to find the damage came from a bird crashing through her window. I ran around the corner and here was this eagle in the living room. Shards of glass were flying everywhere. The eagle flew over to the other plate glass window and tried to get out. It was scratching at the windowsill still and pecking in a frantic state. She opened the door in the kitchen and tried to coax the eagle out of the house, but the bird had different ideas. It went into the kitchen along with its 8-foot wingspan, trying to, while taking stuff coming off the walls, everything coming off the counters. It was general mayhem. The neighbors showed up and they tried again to get the eagle outside, but it freaked out again, flew into the dining room, and there was stuff flying everywhere in the dining room. Broken glass, art supplies, you name it. It was still trying to get out through the window in the dining room. Eventually, they maneuvered behind the bird and were able to get it out of the house, which took her and her husband many hours to clean up. If you could have seen the house, it really looked like a bomb had gone off. I've been working with eagles all my life, but I'd never seen that. And it gave me a new respect for silver and their power. I want to open this up to any. First of all, has anybody seen silver that are here today? You saw him?
About a week before. He was
A week before? And you saw him up at the marshes?
I was out fishing and he was sitting on a post.
No kidding. Wow. What a treat.
I sent a
Anybody?
picture somewhere, but I couldn't find it.
Well, Lauren, thank you, Lauren, for this. This is spectacular. She found a bunch of photos in the old newspapers I'd never seen before, which was really cool. Somebody else saw silver? You saw silver?
Mm-hmm.
When was that?
When I was in 8th grade,
Uh-huh.
I was a teenager.
Were you out
Yeah.
fishing? Or?
Yes, we were out fishing. My little brother and my dad and I. The first time we met him 3 or 4 times. The
Wow.
first time we met him, he come walking up the road, not flying, walking.
Yes.
And he stole my dad's Ritz crackers that were sitting by his chair. And my dad dropped his hand to grab the Ritz crackers, and the crackers were gone. And my little brother was standing there. I was on the other side of the truck. I didn't see it until my dad yelled. And my brother's standing there with his mouth wide open, pointing at the bird. And my dad was cussing because the bird took his crackers. So the next time he came in, he saw our truck, which was a very distinctive truck. And he flew in and landed a little ways away from the truck and walked over, and my little brother was eating raw hot dogs out of our lunchbox, and Silver wanted the hot dog. So he gave him the hot dog, and then he wanted more, and he was very friendly with my little brother, and so my brother gave him the rest of the hot dogs.
Hey.
And the next time we saw him, it was about 3 weeks later when we were out there fishing again, and he flew in, and same thing, wanted hot dogs.
Amazing.
And he was always very friendly. He never...
He never attacked me.
No.
Jane did try to attack me. She bit me on the nose once and pulled off, and my nose is bleeding. And she's looking at me, Because eagles will do beak things when they're, you know, kissing each other. And she pulls off, I'm sure she thought, what a weak beak this guy has. Now, I could feed Silver enough fish that he could go for 5 days without eating. Now, this is pretty superior stuff. Think about 2 on, 5 off. He can fly thousands of feet. He has plenty of free time in his life because he's not necessarily having to hunt all the time. He can have fun. They mate for life. They'll split up for about 6 months and then come back and build on the same nest over and over. They can see 7 or 8 times as well as humans. They have no predators. They don't have to worry about anything. And now, how does that sound? 2 on, 5 off? Nobody bothering you? I think they're pretty far out there. Now, Benjamin Franklin, who was a truly great American, said that he thought the turkey should be the American symbol. No? Tara thinks he was joking.
They're stupid.
He didn't want the eagle because he thought the eagle was a thief and a scavenger. I know. Well, I was watching the moonwalk the other day and thinking about Neil Armstrong going, Tranquility Base. Oh, Houston, Tranquility Base. The turkey has landed. Could have been that one. Now, is there any other questions about Silver?
Are there any, excuse me.
Go ahead.
Are there any eagles, bald eagles around here now?
I wouldn't know. I haven't been up here for quite a while.
There are.
Are there?
Yes, I've seen them in the
I've seen them
wild.
on the river walk here,
Where is that?
Oh, it's on the Humboldt.
Oh, okay. How far away from here?
Like just in town.
You can get to it, there's a bridge on 9th Street.
Oh, wow, just right here. And where did you see him? Oh,
She was saying this.
well, they're still around. I live near a place called the Crystal Springs Reservoir, and it's a beautiful reservoir. It's been there 100 years. It used to be a creek, San Mateo Creek, and then they built a dam which survived the 1906 earthquake. And it's a paradise for eagles because there's tons of fish in there. And no eagles had ever built a nest there up until 8 years ago. For some reason it took them that long to realize this is a perfect place. And so as of 8 years, we have had 12 chicks hatch at my backyard reservoir. So I go up there 5 days a week. I'm retired, so I have free time, and I track them. I've been tracking the migratory eagles up there for many, many decades, but never seen them build a nest until just recently. It's been really exciting for me to know where that is. So that paid off too. Other questions? Mm-hmm.
Was Jane tagged and
Yes.
was it ever spotted again?
Never spotted again. We didn't have telemetry then. With all the eagles we released from the zoo recently, we could track them with telemetry. That was non-existent when we did it. We could just put that red wing marker on there and know it was one or the other. But that's all we had. It was very primitive. In my long movie that was on PBS called Silver and American Eagle, it shows us stuffing the eagles into a wooden crate and stuffing the crate into a little tiny airplane and flying it up here. We had nothing. It was not something you would ever do today with an endangered species, but that's all we had. Yes?
Was there science to Silver and Jane breeding, or you were just hoping that they
Just hoping. Yeah, they don't have to pick each other as a mate. It's up to them. Mm-hmm.
When did you start caring about bald eagles and species?
We had an oil spill in San Francisco Bay back in 1971, I believe. 2 oil freighters crashed right under the Golden Gate Bridge. And crude oil seeped out into the oceans along the beaches and then back in with the tide along the beaches. It's the worst oil spill of San Francisco history. They came on the TV, the news, and said, hey, we need volunteers to go out and collect all the animals that are washing in from the ocean. So they set up an emergency shelter at the San Francisco Zoo and a place called International Bird Rescue in Berkeley. And people would bring in all these oiled birds and other animals that were coming in onto the beaches. I was doing a lot of surfing then, and I had a surfing van, and we would go out in the van and fill it full of oiled animals to take over to the zoo. And that's where I got involved with the zoo. It turned out that there were so many people on the beaches during the day to try and help that all the animals that could stay floating wouldn't come in because of all the people. So we had to go up there at night with flashlights and collect all these critters and take them out to the zoo. Then I met the raptor guru of mine, Mac Blair, who was talking about a raptor rehabilitation program. So that's where I got involved and eventually became head trainer. And I had a lot of raptor friends. By the way, if you're interested on YouTube, I put a little segment under Silver Eagle Whisperer. That's me, Silver Eagle. I'm now becoming a bald eagle. And I'm whispering to golden, and it has a segment of silver and bald eagles on it. So that's free too. Silver Eagle Whisperer on YouTube. Anything else? Yes?
In the other movie you had, you were going to release him at Manzanita Lake.
Right.
My family's had a cabin about 2 ridges south of there since 1934.
Wow.
And I was up there on the 4th of July this summer, and a bald eagle
Fantastic.
floated around and perched on a big snag, and we have a fishing pond there. And
Wow.
he partook of that. So I got pictures of him on my cell phone.
Oh, that's great. It was a good place, but it's just that we didn't want to release him in a horrible winter.
Yeah.
But ended up here. I befriended Howard, who is why this is all here, and Lauren, who is why this is here now. Lauren, would you like to come up and say anything?
Sure, Laird.
Oh, good. We become good friends, me and Lauren. We've been on the phone with each other for about a year for all this today.
I just want to say thank you so much to Laird and his daughter. So happy that they're so interested in Elko and for sharing the story of Silver with us. Everybody loves Silver. They come in and wonder where he is, and for so many years his exhibit was just getting tired and pushed back, and so we wanted to bring it back, and you've helped us with that so much, so thank you, Laird.
Thank you. And this Tar, I'd like to introduce my daughter Tar. She works at the San Francisco Zoo now as an interpretive ambassador, and she interprets all the animals at the zoo. She knows everything about them. She's much better at that than me.
So sometimes the best thing you can actually ever hope to do is put yourself out of business, which is what happened with the bald eagle breeding program. Right now we only have one bald eagle. She is one of our many rescue animals. She is missing most of one wing, so she can't be released. We think she was probably hit by a car, although we can't know for sure. Luckily, the DDT that is what almost wiped them out has been banned for use in America. Unfortunately, America still makes it and sells it to other countries, so it is still a problem elsewhere. And another problem that the bald eagles are facing right now is lead poisoning. So lead makes for very cheap bullets, which makes it easy to hunt and more affordable, but unfortunately, a lot of the time people will leave part of the carcass out there, and then all the scavenging birds, vultures, condors, eagles will come and eat it, and then get poisoned by the lead, and it can take 6 months for a bird to recover if they ever do. So we still have problems we're fighting, but unfortunately a lot of people also think that there's not much they can do to help these animals. But the only reason we discovered bald eagles were in danger was because birders went out and realized there were no immature birds. So it wasn't experts, it was just people that love birds that were watching them. So you can help in many different ways. And he mentioned the Mexican gray wolves earlier, and that's another great example. They're They used to be pretty much in the entire southern half of the United States, way down through Mexico. They were the wolves that the cowboys and Indians had to deal with, and then they were down to only seven at one point. Now there's about 450 left, so it's getting a lot better. We've actually started to release some. There's 100 left in the wild now, as opposed to 7, and we have 3 of them at the San Francisco Zoo, so we're really lucky. And the reason we've been able to release them is because we made it safe in the wild. So many animals, tigers, rhinos, it's not safe to release them, because if we do, they will probably unfortunately be shot for their bones or their horns. But the wolves, we were able to teach people that the big bad wolf is not a thing. They're not going to go out hunting people or anything. They might get cows occasionally because, we've moved into their land. They don't have too much to eat, but there's ways to work around that. So there's a lot we can do to help animals, and I hope you're able to do something too.
Thank you, Charlie. Everyone sign up. Any other questions today? Yes.
So, the fee was just $550 back then. Is it a bigger deal now?
It was $10,000 back then. 10,000, but because he was a retired California policeman, they reduced his sentence and took his gun away and fined him $550. But even today, endangered species, I think it's still $10,000 if you get caught killing him. Is that true, Tara? Do you know? But that was the fine. Yeah, 10,000. He got away pretty easy. I was hoping Ron Pike may have come. He was a ranger out there. I guess, is Ron still alive, Lauren? I don't know. We tried to contact quite a few people about this. Maybe some will show up tomorrow night. See what happens. I became a vegetarian partially because of the yoga thing. But I had a theory that maybe working with wild animals, they can tell predators by your scent. And I'm thinking, well, maybe they won't be as worried about me. But that's not that important. It's just a personal decision you make. One thing as a vegetarian, and I was a vegetarian in 1969 when my yoga master said, hey, don't kill things. So I decided to be a vegetarian. But in 1969, there wasn't all this fancy vegetarian restaurant. If you go to a restaurant and say I'm a vegetarian, they bring you a bowl of peas. Here, eat that. But I never have tried this before. Having a brown bag for lunch. That was I rehearsed that one. I was hoping Well, maybe I'll see you all tomorrow night. Free champagne, what can I say? Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. We're so happy to have Larry here. He has also very kindly brought some DVDs of the film that we watched today, as well as the longer version of that DVD. They're out on the table just as you come into the theater, as well as he's put together a yoga book that is really awesome and has some really phenomenal photos in it of him doing yoga in different places. And eagles as well. And so those are also out there, as well as the CD that we were listening to as you all came in this morning. All of those things are out there on the table for sale. If you wish to purchase any of them, there's a price tag there next to them, and you can just take them up to Anne at the front desk. Larry has also very kindly told us that all of the proceeds from those will be donated back to the museum for Silver's exhibit. Thank you all for being here today.